Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Nate interview for his first time watching episode 2 now. We're going to move over to episode 2, and we hope you enjoy this video series, and make sure that you click that like button, subscribe. The things he says, you're probably going to leave a ton of comments in the comment section. That's fine. We're okay with that. So anyway, let's get into episode 2. So 2001? Or were there a 3-year gap now? 2-year gap in the original trilogy. Was it a 2 or a 3-year gap in episode 1, episode 2? Deer in the headlights.
Beyond me.
2 or 3 years later, after the first one, and if you're just catching up, watch the first video. Nate just watched them for the first time, and finally, and we're now getting his reactions because we want to know what it would be like to watch these sequentially. And for the first time at our age.
Yes.
Even though we're not the same age.
Correct.
He's much older than I am.
Oh, no. Come on now.
All right.
I watched episode 1, episode 2, and then we decided to do this podcast. So if I get something from episode 1 mixed up with episode 2, I apologize, but...
You're not a Star Wars savant like these two guys?
He's all over it, so...
All right. Jake, let's have some questions. Let's get this party started.
Okay, so we've moved into episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just start right off at the beginning. Going into episode 2, what were your thoughts, like straight off the bat, seeing how far it has gone from the end of episode 1?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the age difference of Anakin, and straight off the cuff when it started. Did you have any like beginning thoughts of it? Did you have any?
Yeah, the age thing got me. I figured they would start right when he was, like right after. But obviously some time has elapsed, and I know that that's for character development because you can't start. You couldn't have had this movie when he was still 10, right? He had to get that Jedi training. He had to go through some of his protege-ness.
Very well put.
Protege-ness.
Very well put. Yes,
I like that.
I like
That's a
that
new
too.
word.
It is. I like that.
Trademark. But my only question with that is like, so for this whole time they were just kind of in a stalemate of like, hey, the Federation or Trade Federation put this evil plan into place, and nothing's happened for 6
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
That is a good point.
Right?
I had never thought about that because
that's the 20-year war. Like
it is. I'm watching episode 1, and it's over, and now I just want to get to episode 2 because I want to see what happens to Anakin at the end of this trilogy, which I already know what's going to happen. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it was kind of it must have just been a stalemate. I mean, there was little things in there that moved, but the whole
the government didn't really change. So Anakin was approximately, we'd established in the last video, which we're probably wrong. Internet, please by all means correct us. He was around 10 years old.
Right.
Padme was around 14. Now he's probably 16, 17 years old in episode 2.
Maybe even older.
I would say 18 to
18?
20.
Yeah.
I would say...
I don't know. That's pushing it in my opinion. Maybe not.
I'd say
we could
right at 18.
I'm sure we could have Googled this and
look more intelligent.
Yes, but
I claim ignorance, so that's on you guys.
Well,
you guys are the nerds.
Episode 1, 2, and 3 weren't my favorite in the world until 7, 8, and 9 came out, and I liked them a lot better.
It's kind of a random. You really don't like those movies. I'm catching on.
8.
No, they're great.
The 8, 9.
They're great.
Episode 8.
Don't ruin it for him. They're great.
Episode 8's the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. You won't walk out confused at all. Yes. No. Yes.
Oh, I
Did
don't.
that hurt?
It did.
That hurt to hear, let alone to say.
It did. It hurt my soul.
But yeah, for this long period of time, there's nothing that's really happened.
I never thought about that.
Like, obviously, we talked about Palpatine being up to some crap. That's the long con, man. Like, that guy is playing the long game, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the beginning of the movie, you start to see some, I would say, progressions of political careers.
Yes, some maneuvering. Political maneuvering.
Padme is now senator.
Yeah.
Yep.
True.
So
she did become senator.
She's no longer queen.
Yep. That's true.
So, I mean, you're seeing the progressions going on further politically.
And realistically, that does happen. I mean, you got to give him that. Like, that's why we have a 81-year-old president or whatever, right?
Yeah.
let's not get into
Yeah.
that.
Like things happen, right? They take a long time to transpire. So I just thought it was weird that we went from, this build up and then we just kind of stalled for 4 or 5, 6 years, and then
Yeah.
we're back to it.
I'd never thought about that. Never entered my mind.
Thoughts of somebody coming in
Brand
not
new.
knowing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
And watching it from 1, 2, 3,
Right.
we didn't care about that type of stuff as much because we knew the end. The end. Basically.
Yes, we knew how. Episode 9.
No, episode 4. Thank you very much.
Okay.
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 Anyway,
Yes.
anywho.
How
Questions.
do we move on from here?
I know.
Just read the next one, buddy.
I know.
Well, let's just kind of continue a little chronologically. So the movie starts. Obi-Wan and Anakin, they're going to provide like a security escort for Padme.
Yeah.
Padme.
Padme?
Amidala. And, there's the assassination attempt.
Mhm.
And then you kind of meet a character that, as fanboys, is, technically the first chronological appearance of what most people know as a Mandalorian.
Oh.
Mandalorian armor.
Django.
So
yes.
Django.
Yes.
Oh, the bounty hunter.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know what a Mandalorian is, but the bounty hunter.
Well,
Yes.
you'll
Yes.
know.
Okay.
So,
All right. Yes.
as just from an outside complete person, the first time that you saw, and it was barely a glimpse of. First, he's talking to the changeling,
Yep.
and then when he takes off on his jetpack.
Yep.
Did you have any sort of just off the cuff thoughts on that, or was it just kind of a passing by until you saw him later in the movie?
Well, obviously he's the guy giving direction,
Mhm.
right? Like he is the obvious middleman using a pawn, right? Because nobody cares about the green thing that died, right?
Zam Wessel. How do you guys not know the name?
The
of-
ET thing,
Yes,
whatever.
Go ahead.
Right? So he is obviously the bad dude in this situation where he's trying to assassinate. But here's the cool thing, right? Assassins, even though they go against all societal moral codes of bad or of good, they're awesome. Right? Name me an assassin that's not cool. Right?
You have a point.
We literally have movies about like being assassins because
Yes.
that's a cool role.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a point. And I didn't think about this earlier in our last video, but were you surprised when Natalie Portman steps up as Padme and says she's the queen when they're in front of the Gungan
Oh yeah,
delegation?
because Keira Knightley is her.
Her
Her
double,
double, yeah.
doppelganger.
Oh yes, did not.
Did
I
I?
was like, oh
Wait a
wait,
minute.
that's the queen. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, they had like interactions with her
Yeah.
beforehand, and I was like, that hand.
So you knew she was important.
Yeah, the handmaiden has a really big role in this, but once she did that, I was like,
Okay.
Okay,
It wasn't a big
that makes more
surprise.
sense,
It was
yeah.
like, oh, okay, yeah.
yep. Well,
Right.
and I think I remember at one point knowing that Natalie Portman was in the movies,
Right?
which I'm sorry, but I would disappoint the heck out of her. I'm sorry.
Especially since we had determined that she was 16 when she filmed the first one.
Hey,
Well-
look, a big section just got cut out.
Throw me under.
And cut.
Nate Bus.
Yes, please.
Right,
Let's proceed. Let's get away from this.
But yes, that
Yes.
was one of those things that it made more sense once they introduced her coming out and saying, "Oh, I'm the queen." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes more sense."
Which is okay for you to say about Natalie because you're actually younger than she is by a little bit.
okay. Well, I'm still watching it as a 28-year-old.
Moving on.
Yes, Kyle.
Wait a minute.
29-year-old.
Tried to
I was
fix
about to
this.
say,
and
you
you just
Wait, 29.
I just brought it back. Okay, moving on.
So,
Next
continuing on with disappointing Natalie
You can
Portman.
clip that out.
Yes.
We're not clipping that out. We're keeping that in.
No, we're
You can
clipping
clip
that
that
out.
We're keeping.
We're clipping that out.
We're
You can say
keeping that in.
inappropriate comment and then just drop to the next section. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so continue forward in the movie. The assassination attempt occurs. We get through Coruscant. They send Anakin as the Padawan, which obviously the Jedi Order was very iffy about sending him on this by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Senator Amidala are sent to Naboo.
Yes.
Now, from that point in that series of things, what was your reaction to the start of that relationship, the flowering of love?
Flowering of love.
Love.
I mean, because obviously at that point, I do believe it's certain rules of the Jedi have been put forward.
Yep, no attachment.
No attachment.
So we talked in the last episode about me really liking Anakin's character, right? Then they kind of have this arc, or at least the start of an arc, I'm assuming, of Anakin's character maybe going off the rails a little bit, right? My boy's a simp, right? I mean, there's no other way to put it. He got friend zoned, he got mad about it, and then he wanted to throw a little tattle or a little fit, like a little kid, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
So, and I literally cannot blame the dude.
And
we're back.
Yeah. Okay.
But the reactions to him wanting to defy the order for her, that kind of shows a little bit more of his character starting to pop out, right? He's kind of taking that like, well, that's not what I want approach to things, even though he's called in the Jedi Order to take that out of his life and focus on the more important things. So that's starting to break a little bit.
Well, moving forward with breaking of his, we'll say his character, breaking of his vows to the Jedi, his nobility, or however you want to phrase it.
Yep.
Moving moving forward within the story, his mother, and going to attempt to save his mother, and how that turned out.
Yeah.
I mean, gut reactions on what occurred in that Tusken camp.
Two different parts to that. Okay. Number one, I would probably break to go save my mom.
Mhm.
Right? Like
I think
them,
that's the natural human
yeah,
reaction.
them saying you have to stay here, you can't go get her. Okay, I understand
Sorry,
why.
boys, I'm going.
Yeah, well, I understand
Yeah.
why, but like I like my mom, I'm gonna go save her, right? However, he went scorched earth on everybody, right? He went Joshua on the entire camp, and then it was, okay, you may have taken that a little too far, right? Because I think they show in a movie there's a little like, also, let me circle back to that. They see, I think in the movie you see little like Tusken kids running around.
Tuscans.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tusklets.
Tusklets.
There you
Hey,
go. There you go. Comment section. Tusklets.
Coined.
Yep. Circling back to that, the Tusken Raider thing. One of the things I thought about in episode 1 that we didn't cover in the last episode was the brief, like, eclipse of the Tuskens, because they were running the races,
Mhm.
the little jetpack race things.
Pod racing.
Pod racing.
This
Pod
is
racing,
pod
sorry,
racing.
And there's these random dudes with like old Mazans that have been modified, right? Sitting in the holler shooting at them, and they're like, oh, the Tuskens are camped out there. And then it breezed on by. I was like, oh, well.
Right.
So now they've made an appearance back too.
And that's fan service from the original.
Okay,
Section,
so they play a
yes.
part in the originals.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
See, I was like, oh, okay. Well, side note.
Yeah.
we'll-
What? Yeah. What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
And then
pick
they
that up
turned
later.
into a Disney dance team.
Wait. What?
I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
Book of
Yeah.
Boba Fett.
Oh, ride it like a bantha. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. You'll get to that someday.
Why am I hanging out with these
Just Run
nerds?
away.
We got to move on from that one.
Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Carrying on.
I don't even know where to go into now. Oh, Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Did you find him to be a compelling villain? And comparatively, how did you feel? And you said when we were talking about the first movie that you thought that Darth Maul was a wasted character.
Yeah.
So Count Dooku compared to Darth Maul.
Mhm.
I mean, how do you feel he works as a character?
I think he does a good job of being that antagonist. Is that right?
Mhm.
The antagonist. I think he brings out the evil side that they're trying to portray of this, and this is more of a question. The Sith Order, is that like the antithesis of the Jedi?
Right.
Okay, all right. I assumed that, but it didn't make sense all the way. So,
Right.
I think he does a good job of representing, like, hey, we are the antithesis of the Jedi Order. I think
it's
it's
also not a complete lunatic either. He does a really good job of being a very intelligent.
Yeah.
Like, this is the reason I'm doing this.
Yeah, he's not a Bond villain. He's more of a...
Well, and I find it very interesting because when he has Obi-Wan, who also, we'll get back to him, but when he has Obi-Wan locked up and he comes to see him, he's like, I'm trying to get you released, which I think was bullcrap the whole time. But he's like, he tells him the Republic is under the management, basically, of a Sith Lord, and you need to join me. Which, that just further drives the ambiguity of, wait,
Who's the good guy here?
whose side are we on here?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Which, have you met the Sith Lord yet in your viewing of this?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, Sith Lord's not until 3.
I know.
I have a sneaking suspicion.
No, end of 2.
I don't think they revealed it.
I don't think it is.
Who do you think it is?
I think it's Palpatine.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Right?
okay, no, they don't reveal it. No, but you see the Sith Master.
You see the seedlings of it.
Yes.
I guess, yeah.
The very end, after Count Dooku leaves the duel with Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he meets
At the
with...
very end, he flies into that building, which is called a building, and there's a shrouded figure. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And
You
he-
can see him, but his face is somewhat.
right,
obscure.
Darth Sidious. Yeah.
But I Palpatine going into the Chancellor position was too convenient, and the fact that, number one, I didn't trust him to begin with because Master Yoda, right? Like,
Right.
That guy's
Right.
his
And he's a
person.
politician. We've
And
already...
he's a politician. But like that makes sense to me that, hey, you got Count Dooku saying that the Republic is under the guise and rule of a Sith Lord. That's the Chancellor.
Potentially.
So it's
yeah.
kind of like, okay, that would make sense, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Yeah.
And I could be way off base, but that's what I think.
So let's
We'll see
When you watch
It's
episode 3.
There you go.
That's right.
All right.
So let's switch gears back a little bit. So kind of the parallel storylines that are occurring in episode 2. You have Anakin and Padme. Let's switch over to now Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
Going through him going to Kamino, meeting with the cloners, finding out about the clone army.
Yeah.
Kind of go through that as that was playing out on your thought processes going through that.
Yep. So that deepened the suspicion,
Mm.
right? Because they said that the Republic has created a clone army, even though it was not approved,
Right?
right? It's like Congress starting a war.
Mhm.
A war, right? We
Yep.
haven't passed a war since what? Korea? Congress has not passed a war since Korea, right? So that whole thing to me was, now wait a minute, right?
Uh-huh.
It was like, hold up. And I think Obi-Wan thought that too, right? He kind of had that, he played it off really well. He pulled the
He did, didn't he?
he pulled the epitome of Kyle's, of where you act like you belong in a place, you can go anywhere. You can do whatever you want if you do it with confidence. And that is him. I've seen
And
it firsthand.
stupidity.
And stupidity. Well,
Yeah.
that's a little part of it. But he kind of caught on to that, and he was looking at this clone army thinking, why did we do this?
Right.
Why is the Republic doing this?
The order was placed under Master Sifo-Dyas, who is irrelevant to the movie. You
Okay.
don't-
No, but
doesn't
still, Obi-Wan then, I mean, he checks that out before he goes to Kamino and goes,
matter.
hold on a second, that's been erased. But,
Yeah. Master Sifo-Dyas
That's right.
at this point
Yeah.
is dead,
uh-huh.
Yeah.
so there's no trail back. So who placed the order?
The order, yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
And who erased the footage.
And who erased, because it had to be a Jedi, right?
That's the assumption, yes.
Yeah, they talked about like
Yeah, only a Jedi could have
Only a
accessed
Jedi
those
could
records.
access,
and- Right.
So,
Right.
and then in that, when he goes to what's the water planet with the strange looking whoop things, the
Camino?
strange
Camino.
sorry,
Whoop.
Whoop. The El Camino, right?
The El Camino
The El
city.
Camino.
Yes.
That's when you further meet Boba Fett,
Jango.
Jango
Jango,
Fett,
yeah.
and then you also meet Boba, the
Boba,
kid,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Yep.
The clone.
Okay, right,
Uh-huh.
because we talked about that.
Yeah.
That's where you meet the clone that he's brought on as a kid.
Yeah.
And that makes you look at the assassin role a little bit more, because you're like, oh, okay, that's who that is. But they don't kill each other, right? They don't. I don't think they.
Who,
no,
Django and Obi-Wan? No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think they get into a no.
They get in a
don't.
fight.
They get in a fight, but they don't kill each
Yeah,
other.
nobody dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not okay. Well, that ruined it.
Well, no.
Well, come on, what? That?
Because the end of 2,
It is in episode 2.
the end of 2, Mace
Oh,
goes.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah,
right. Mace
kids
does.
watching up
Yeah,
in
I
the-
was thinking that was
same
episode
thing.
3 all of a sudden.
Okay. I was
yeah.
like, wait a minute.
No,
Um,
I'm tiptoeing around everything because I don't want to give him.
It's
I don't
all
want to
right.
skew his.
Some of it, I feel like I have probably deduced.
It's not that deep,
right.
really.
It's fun.
It's
Yeah.
fun. It is
That's
fun.
what it was intended for.
Yes.
8-year-old kids.
Yeah. I like it. The Colosseum. That is another scene that we talked about.
Oh yes,
Well,
that's
let's-
right. Yeah.
Get right into it.
Okay.
So Obi-Wan gets captured. We
Yes.
get to the Coliseum. Padme and
Anakin.
Anakin go to rescue him.
R2. Yeah.
R2.
With the rockets.
R2 is the best. I don't understand how
He
you can
has
make a
the-
character that does not have any lines be so cool.
But he's
Well-
he's the best character.
Well,
He's got plenty of lines.
he's got
Just be
tons of.
careful.
They had to bleep everything because of his mouth. He's a terrible cusser.
He's got a potty mouth.
He does. It's terrible.
But no, that is the
it's like
coolest.
taking Kyle anywhere.
Oh, come on.
That's fair. That is the coolest little character.
Yeah.
And the fact that they threw him in there without having like actual human interaction.
Dialogue, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
So
yes.
we're back in the Coliseum,
The Colosseum.
and let's skip to Padme escapes with her chains.
Yeah.
Or escapes her chains, and she jumps from how many feet?
Yeah.
And lands on the. I
That
think it
hurt.
was a reek. Is that what it was? A reek?
No, the Reek is the spider. No, that's the Reek. The Reek is the spider cheetah looking thing.
That's a Nexus.
Are you sure?
The cheetah-looking thing is the next.
Is it? Yeah. I'll see. I'm done with this.
We know. So the reek, I think, is the rhinoceros-looking thing, and then the
The Triceratops.
No, murder fuel.
yes,
Yes.
No, Nightmare Fuel.
nightmare fuel.
Not
The
murder fuel.
crab spider thing, Nightmare Fuel. Pure Nightmare Fuel. I hate spiders. I don't like anything with more than 4 legs. Nope. Ow. I was
Yeah.
done. I was like, do I keep watching this?
Yeah,
I'm not scared of much. That is something that freaked me out.
that thing was cool.
I think it was freaky. Absolute pure nightmare fuel.
Nexus,
Oh, I'm looking. Hold on.
Nexus.
I don't care what it calls, it needs to be dead.
I think that's. He would have stomped it with a giant
Oh,
boot.
you were right. The rhino thing is the.
The reek.
Nothing made me happier than watching that thing get killed.
Yeah.
And
Look up the
Nightmare
Anyway,
fuel is
so,
the Acklay.
All the
Acklay. Yes,
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 that's
the
right.
Acklay.
It's even got a terrible name.
Yes.
Anyway,
so they go through that, get rescued by the clones,
Wait,
and
you're skipping past good stuff.
Oh,
What am I
whoa!
skipping?
What good stuff? Hurry up.
So, the arrival of the clones. Well,
Yes.
let's not go straight to the clones. The arrival of the Jedi. So that's like the first time where you really see a mass amount of Jedi.
true.
You see lightsabers popping everywhere up through the crowd of Geonosians.
Geonosians. Yeah.
Flying bug people.
Yeah.
I mean, and then, there's such a turn of events where I feel like you have an up and then you have a slam down before going up again. So the Jedi show up.
Yeah.
They are doing this rescue mission to save Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme, and then suddenly you start seeing Jedi die here, die there as the droids come out until they're pinned in a small circle in the center of this arena.
Right.
So before the clones suddenly appeared and, save the day, spit just fly. I mean, I don't want to say emotionally, but when that was occurring and it kind of got to that super low point of, Jedi are getting just slaughtered. What's
Right.
supposed to be like I don't want to say the ultimate warrior in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Compared to the droids and the
their martial prowess
Yeah.
with the
Well,
lightsaber.
according to Anakin, nothing can kill the Jedi.
Well,
except Darth Maul.
except Anakin.
Yes.
Never mind. But moving on.
oh, Jake.
Jake.
I shouldn't have said that one.
My heart just broke a little, but that's fine.
Jake. Go ahead. Continue.
I guess I could see that actually.
Oops. What was your reaction to that? Of seeing what was supposed to be this ultimate
The good
force
guys, yeah.
just being taken down.
My assumption was when that started happening, none of the ones that got killed were the main characters, right? Think about that. None of them were on the Jedi Council.
Are you saying Star Wars has plot armor?
I don't know what plot armor is.
Think of plot armor as somebody's important, they can't die.
Yeah.
Okay, so like E-Sign Ricky that goes to
Eastside Ricky.
E-Sign Ricky that goes down with William Shatner. He's in a red shirt.
Oh
Dude's
yeah,
dying
you know
in
he's
Star
yeah,
Trek.
you know he's gonna
Right,
die.
he's dying.
Yeah, right.
Like period.
Right.
Now, with that assumption going forward, all those characters that died, you have to assume were not as good of Jedi as the rest, the main characters,
True.
right?
That is true.
So when surrounded by a big force like that, it didn't really shock me.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was kind of like, oh man, we're losing people. I mean, it's war. You're going to lose people, even
Yep.
if they are the
Yeah.
ultimate combat warrior.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we see SEALs and
Yeah, like people.
special forces all the time.
Yeah, just because they're super trained doesn't mean they're invincible.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Well,
Right.
just moving forward.
Yeah.
The clones, the sudden appearance, the drop ships, the lat gunships coming in, dropping the clones off.
Yeah,
What's your quick instinct on clones? What do you think about them?
they're cool,
They are cool, aren't they?
Yeah.
but
Nerds.
what?
I didn't like
Go
it.
ahead.
You didn't like the clones?
I didn't like
They're awesome, man. They're like this.
They are
this
cool.
cool force.
cannon fodder.
But they quickly they very much resemble the stormtrooper, right? Because
Right. Absolutely.
from playing the game, I'm like, oh, those are stormtroopers. Oh no, they're clone. Oh, wait a minute.
I
Right.
see what you did there.
I see what you did
Yeah.
here. Because
Yeah.
I mean, look at the armor.
Yes.
The
Oh no, that's
exoskeleton.
yeah.
And the very well made blaster here.
Yeah.
You quickly become aware of the fact that those are probably going to be called stormtroopers at some point.
You're
You just have to wait and see.
You're not exactly right, but that's okay.
Okay. All right.
But,
That's
if you get that far, good for you.
Okay.
I hope you do.
they're at least a force fighting or a fighting force that is similar
Right.
to the Startroopers.
Well, I will say the clones have a short life expectancy, so
Okay.
which is irrelevant to the
Well,
movie.
Yeah, because they have accelerated.
Yeah,
Age
accelerated
Oh, we
growth.
can
So
grow 'em quicker.
So
Okay.
so when you get to stormtroopers, you're looking at conscripted people from their homes. But
Oh, interesting.
yeah. So
Okay. All right. Because I saw their outfits and I was like, oh well, and they're
Well,
using
I
the same
mean, yeah.
weapons and it's like, all right, well they're going to be stormtroopers. at some
Wait,
point.
was the bright white?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
bright white in the middle of a combat
jeez.
field. I mean,
Yeah.
that is. I don't unless you're in a Arctic warfare situation. I don't.
I know
understand
what.
that,
Yeah,
but-
what's the point? Yes,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
armor's
black.
terrible anyway. And someone shoots a
Yeah.
spitball at them and they topple over and die.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
No, wait a minute. That's true because
It
that's
is.
a very good point,
It is.
right? Like they get
That
killed.
stormtrooper armor back there is about as effective. If I put that on right now and you shot a spitball at me,
Yeah.
it would be as effective as they are in the movie. They're basically plastic.
Yeah, they're wearing all this. It's like futuristic
Yes.
chainmail,
Yes.
and it doesn't do anything.
Yes, made out of like plastic, plastoid. Yes.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's a good thought.
It is a good thought. Okay, so do your Yoda impression.
Oh.
The Clone War has begun.
Well, you put me on the spot now. What do you
gotta
mean?
do it. You just did it before we started filming.
I did?
Yeah.
Begun this. I can't do it.
What was that?
Begun this Clone War has.
So, begun the Clone War has.
Yes.
So, we move out of.
Proceed.
We move out of the Coliseum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty much Coliseum battlefield.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like a shock of like, well, that happened quickly, or
I think probably it was the escalation of something that had been brewing.
okay? So that time period between the two movies,
Yeah.
this was something that was building up.
Yeah.
And whereas the Republic may have not had a fighting force capable of fighting the production of droids,
Right.
because we see a droid factory in Episode 2.
Okay. Yep.
Now they do.
Well, it had to come to a head.
Yeah.
Right. And the fact that they were there already rescuing it was like, well, we're in this now. Right. They had been taking shots at the droids. Everybody knows who's going against who. You come out, you're in battle. I mean, you might as well do what you got to do while you're there. So it kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, in Episode 3, it's not going to spoil anything, but you'll notice the size of the starships in it, and you'll understand. Okay, they can actually have that many people
On those.
on the ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, they had a big army in
Yeah.
Episode Was it 2? Yeah, where
Mhm.
they went to go. You could see just the mass scale of
That's
like,
the name, Attack of the Clones.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Should have been like Defense of the Clones, though, right?
No, because they were attacking.
They were attacking
They
the
were
droids.
invading the planet.
Right, but that insinuates that they're the bad guys if they're attacking.
Not necessarily.
No, that is not true at all.
Shouldn't it be like it's the whole Revenge of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi thing, you know? All right.
You said that from the point of somebody who has a very civilian mind.
Okay, fair enough. Yes, yes,
Wow.
fair enough.
Okay.
Yes. No, actually, says our veteran. I
would call
will.
that one Revenge of the Sith.
The Sith can have revenge.
You're out
They're
of my
evil.
scope.
Well, no, but it's Revenge of the Sith. I mean,
It is Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's
They-
okay.
They killed Maul, and now they're seeking revenge.
But
I
Attack
don't
of
think
the
anybody cared about Maul.
I cared about Maul.
Do you know he's actually a fan favorite? So they actually brought him back in the Clone Wars cartoons. It's fine. He doesn't need it. He's never
Don't
going to
watch
make it
it.
that far.
Okay.
I don't want
All
Now
right.
see, Zach didn't like him. I
No.
loved him.
Loved him.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well,
Jake and I loved him. Of course, I watched him with my son,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that gave me a new love for him. Let's move on.
One thing that I will notice is I do like how they spent time on the politics.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They were in the chamber and they were having the whole talks about, hey, we're going to delegate executive power to Chancellor Palpatine. Like that
because
to
we
me.
got this extreme situation
Yeah.
that requires
Yeah.
somebody acting immediately.
Yeah.
We don't need to vote on it.
That to me
Yeah.
makes the story more real.
Uh-huh.
It brings some
Right.
reality to it.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people on the internet will disagree with you.
Really?
They didn't want to know about the politics going on.
But it's important.
I thought it was good.
No,
Yeah.
it's,
In episode
it's
1, 2, and
extremely-
3, I enjoyed the politics of it. Believe
There
it or
is
not.
actually, I listen to Bloomberg on news on my way to work, and there is a guest that they had on there, and they show they play like a sound clip of him, and he was a law professor at a college, and in this clip he's talking about like writing on Star Wars was a very unlikely thing to do for a law professor, but there I was and I did it. I'm assuming he had something to do with the politics scene.
Potentially.
Probably.
Yeah.
After I saw that, I was like, oh, that's what that clip's from, because I didn't get it.
Yeah. Welcome to pop culture.
Because they they literally laid out the politics part of it, which that unfortunately moves wars.
Absolutely.
I like that they included that.
I did too.
Apparently, that's a very common
Now going back
controversial.
to one though, you talked about the Jedi being a neutral force.
Yes.
Do you feel like at the end of 2, the Jedi are actually a neutral force, or do you feel like there's one side that they are favoring?
They are favoring the Republic.
Okay.
Yep. They are trying to, because up until this point, the Republic has at least sustained peace in the galaxy. Right?
Okay.
So if your whole goal is to sustain peace in the galaxy,
You're going to throw your lot in with
you're gonna
that.
you're
with
gonna
that
more
group.
than likely throw in with that group,
Mhm.
right? Because the separatists and the Trade Federation, they are causing issues that is bringing death and destruction. So of those two, it's like who are you voting for, right? Like of the two evils,
Yeah, which one's better? Yeah.
who are you gonna pick, right? So
Yeah.
I think they're siding more on the Republic, and they have the right to do so right now.
Okay.
However, I feel like that's gonna change. I could be wrong. I could be right. I feel like that's gonna change. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, let's caveat off of that.
Okay.
So from episode 1 into episode 2, what are your thoughts about the Jedi Order or the Jedi turning from peacekeepers and observers and ambassadors into, at the end of episode 2, where you see them leading squads of
Mhm.
clone troopers? You see ranks of clone troopers with a Jedi in front of them.
Yep.
You see peacekeepers turned into,
Generals.
generals,
Yeah.
warriors.
Yeah.
Thought process on that.
I think in this instance, that's what they have to be. Right? Because like we talked about in the first episode, they go on these like side missions just in squabbles. Right? Now, do they end those squabbles peacefully most of the time? Maybe. But why do they have swords? Lightsabers, whatever you want to call them, right? Why do they have them if they're not going to use
Laser
them?
swords.
Laser swords, the cool things, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think in this instance, they're doing what has to be done. So I don't disagree with that. But they have to tread that line to, if they see where the Republic has gotten to the point where they are becoming fascists,
Tyrants,
for a better word,
Something that
or
nature.
they need to back up and put them in check.
Yep.
That's just my thought process. Also, this is a complete caveat from everything, but when they filmed, you guys nerdy would know this, when they filmed the lightsaber duels, obviously the blades are not real.
Mm-hmm.
So do they actually have like blades on them and
Yeah.
they just CGI'd them out, or were they just holding these like
Well,
little
they were-
things?
Yeah, episode 1 and 2, they were metal tubes,
Okay,
aluminum, metal.
That makes more sense because I'm like,
Yeah.
during choreography that would be hard, or during filming.
Yeah.
Stopping perfectly.
Yeah, like stopping here and being like.
And then
oh,
when you get to the
minutes.
original trilogy, they were actually a spinning tube that had reflective tape on it to give
Oh.
it that effect because of
Okay.
technology at the time.
Okay, well,
Well, and then they rotoscoped it, right?
Yes.
okay. Well, I had that thought watching. I was like, how do you?
You got way
like,
more
they
than
have
you
some
wanted
cool
there.
choreography in their
Yeah.
duels.
Yeah.
Yes, they
Right.
do. Yeah. Be prepared to be disappointed in episode 4, 5, and 6 because we
Well,
revert back
they-
25
yeah.
years and
Well, and the original concept of it was more of like a two-handed sword or a broadsword from,
Yeah.
from medieval times.
yeah,
So the speed's going to slow down.
Okay.
yeah, it was supposed to be heavy and
Now,
deliberate, but
was there a particular reason that George Lucas waited to, like, to release everything in the order that he did? Because I feel like if you would have made this movie in the 70s with all the CGI, it wouldn't have worked.
no.
So was that the
Well,
main
I-
driver, or did he just want to make the story a little bit different?
Well, I think it was that he did 4 because he'd written the others, right? Or
No,
at least part of it.
he started
And-
writing episode 4 and then realized it was a much larger as it went forward. It also needed to go
It went backward.
backwards.
Okay.
and-
And
All right.
4 was the most practical, complete picture of a
yes,
movie.
yeah, and it could have been a
There was a
standalone.
beginning, middle, and end.
Okay.
And if if it ended up not getting the budget for 5 and 6, you needed to have a
Right.
complete middle and
Could have been a
beginning, middle,
standalone
and end,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
so
Yep.
Clone Wars has started, and you
Yes.
get to this final duel
Yep.
between Count Dooku, Anakin, and
Yoda.
Kenobi.
hmm
We can't get that. So the duel commences. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yada yada yada. Lightsabers, flashy. My arm. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah, he cut off Anakin's arm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan ends up underneath the pillar, right?
Yoda.
Yeah.
So from episode 1, and then majority of episode 2, you know, what you think of Yoda is
Yeah.
this frail little frog man that
Yeah.
could barely
Yeah.
move. Was it kind of like a off the hitch reaction when suddenly he was jumping around the room with a
Yeah, he
lightsaber?
just kind of just went
ape.
ape on it. Like he just
Right.
turned into
Well,
this.
nobody else is going to do this, so hold my beer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he brought out the old school, right? Because he was like grunting and moving, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
he was like,
Yeah. Opens up his robe,
my
lightsaber flies to his hand through the force.
yes, that was cool, right?
Yeah.
My thing is, how do you? It would be hard to fight against that.
Oh, it'd be so
absolutely.
fast.
Because,
Yeah,
well, and it's fast, but also you have a man-sized target with most of the Jedi's,
right.
and now you have this little thing that you're trying to hit. Your accuracy has to be better, and then all your attacks are coming up from the bottom. Well, until he's over you because he jumped and did like the flips. That would be hard to fight.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like the circular saw. When you're cutting it, it comes off and it just takes off and bounces around the room. You're like, there's nothing I can do about that.
OSHA is in the comments.
Yeah, OSHA is going to be in the comments.
But yeah, no, that would be very hard to fight because you're like,
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like
I-
swatting a fly.
I do remember episode 2. I left work, drove 22 miles to go watch the movie during a work day, sat in the theater by myself with probably 40 other nerds like me who were all spaced out.
Gray sweatpants.
And yeah, pretty much.
Not
I
really
still
deodorant.
have my khakis and my golf shirt on. And when Yoda did that scene, that was probably the first time in the prequel trilogy, not counting episode 3 yet, that I was sitting in my chair and I went, "Oh, this is cool."
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty big moment. It was a big moment for me in the film. It was a pivotal moment where I went, This is actually headed somewhere I really enjoy.
Yeah, he's fighting. He's not just
Yeah.
thinking. He's
Yeah.
fighting.
So, final question.
Mhm.
So we're just going to go into overall thoughts of episode 2. Did it exceed? Did it meet? I mean, your expectations coming out of episode 1. Did
Mhm.
you think it was better? Did you think it was worse?
I thought it was better than episode 1.
Okay.
Right? Like
Right answer.
In the first episode we did this, I said that I probably wouldn't watch the second one. Right? And I would have been amiss because this is much better than the first one, in my
So,
opinion.
so now you're ready for 3.
Yeah, now
You're
I'm like, all right,
oh,
let's
yeah,
go into
let's do
this.
this.
Right?
So you're invested in the story.
3 is actually really good.
Okay.
One of my favorites.
Okay.
Yeah, it
all right.
was,
Yeah, because it one, I feel like you had to have it so it set things up.
Yep.
2 was a little bit more progression of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that we are moving on and it's not just kind of plateauing.
Right.
3's going to hit you right off the bat and just keep going.
Okay,
Yes, it
all right.
is.
I thought it was interesting at the end when they do get married in secret. I did not think that they were going to go forward with that.
Like, go all that way.
Yeah, I didn't think they would get married because obviously they talk about this having to be a secret. It didn't, I don't know. It was kind of like, okay, well, I guess they're going to do that and just keep this a secret then. So,
Well,
what was the
one of
point?
the questions I had from that was, how do you keep this a secret from a group that has mind powers that
Yeah.
can read your mind? I mean,
Yes.
That's a really good point.
oh boy.
Well, they couldn't read
Yeah.
his mind, though, because he's a Jedi. But hers,
well, but you got to think back. So when Anakin's killing the Tuskens, it zips to Yoda.
And he kind of feels it.
He
Yeah.
senses it.
yeah.
I mean,
He's
I don't
got
want to
that
call Yoda a little perv, but
Yeah,
how
he-
does he
he-
sense
yeah,
it?
Yeah.
He was peeking in.
He's got the disturbance in the Force.
That's right.
You know, he's kind of got that,
That's right.
like, oh. So, yeah, obviously somebody's going to catch on. So that'll be very interesting.
Well, wrapping this up, I will say episode 3. I can't wait to come back on episode 3
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yes.
because
oh my gosh, yes.
I
Okay.
don't want to overhype it
Yeah,
since you have no idea what Star Wars is other than episode 1 and 2.
right.
But coming in on the episode 3 thing, you're about ready. Of the 3 films, 3 is the best. The storyline progresses quickly. A lot of stuff happens. It's a lot of action.
Okay.
And, you know, by the time
It's a lot of resolution too.
it's a lot of resolution.
Okay.
Yeah. So the original trilogy, in theory, could be a standalone trilogy
Okay.
with one giant cliffhanger at the end
Of these.
Of these.
Of
Yeah.
these three.
of these
Yes.
3.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is good.
No, I think you'll. It's just, the fact that the way you talked about 1 and 2, getting to 3 is going to be like you're gonna be on board.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So it is really, really worth watching. The CG is better. The last 20 minutes of that movie is
Some of the best cinema
some of the best cinema that's probably
happened in the last.
Oh,
yeah.
gosh. And I mean, just the music, everything was
It
just.
is, but I don't know if it's the best cinema because we know what's going to all happen, and we're going back and watching it.
No, but I think even
But for the first time, I'm really anxious to get
Yeah,
your take
yes.
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I really
If it's
do.
like,
so you got to come back and visit us, Nate.
I
yeah,
will.
or if you're just going to come back and be like, yeah, episode 3 was good. It ended, you know, the way I didn't expect it to yet necessarily, but it was okay.
You
No.
tell me it sucks, I'm probably going to delete the footage.
The
but hey,
videos.
it's-
Yeah.
Okay. Taking them down.
So,
All right.
all right, guys.
Well,
Anything else? We're good.
Yeah.
I think
So,
Wrap up.
Yeah, we're closing out on this. Can't wait for part 3 where we get to talk about episode 3.
Yeah.
Make sure you all get down in those comments because we want to hear your reactions of seeing if you're somebody who, like Nate, started with episodes 1, 2, 3. You know, you went chronological instead of the old way.
That's right.
Of starting 4,
That's
5,
right.
6. We want to hear about it. We want to hear your gut wrenching reactions about Star Wars, something that 3 of us love and have put a lot of our lives into.
But many of you years in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So-
It's been my whole life. I mean, it's always been around.
Yeah. The whole time I've known you, I've known you're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I've never really forced you to watch the movies.
Yeah.
I'm a bad friend.
So get
Yes.
down in those comments and let us know. Like, subscribe, and be waiting for episode 3.
We'll see you in the next video.
Thanks, guys.